Welcome to Talk Birdie to Me with former world number 16 Nick O'Hearn and Tour Pro Mark Allen, live from Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. And thanks to our great partners, Host Plus, the official retirement partner of Talk Birdie to Me. Driving a BMW is like hitting the perfect shot. Smooth, controlled and powerful. Titleist, the clear number one ball in golf. FootJoy, the number one shoe and glove in golf. Better, when the greats bet, they bet with Better. Ping will help you play your best. And the Golf Clearance Outlet, who beat everyone's prices. Now, here's Nick and Mark.
G'day everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is a Talk Birdie to Me mini, and Nicholas Seve Ballesteros gets a big run on this show, and we put
rightly so.
Yeah, rightly so. That's
one of the greats.
Right. We put a call out to anybody had a Seve Ballesteros story. Mm-hmm. The other person who gets a fair run on this program is Gabriel Hjertstedt.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Austin Truslow for a second.
Yeah, Austin Truslow. He's another one. He's another one.
Yeah, Gabriel does.
But Paul Moloney, the 1993 Singapore Open champion.
Yes.
He heard about this and he has made contact and he's got a story about both. So let's say g'day to Paul. There he is. G'day, Paul.
Hey, guys. How you going?
We're well.
Very well.
Can you believe that Singapore Open win that you had and that little dance you did when you held the final putt was 32 years ago?
Yeah, well, I'm looking back on Richard Green's career and thinking he didn't mind. He was the one that lost the lead on the 72nd. But, he's had a great run since he's turned senior. So
that was his second tournament, Richard Green. That was the second event that he ever played. He came second to you. Wow. Yeah, I remember that quite well.
That's right.
What a great start.
That's right.
Right. Well, we've got you on for the stories, Paul. Let's not beat around the bush. Tell us what happened with Seve Ballesteros.
So if I'm memory correctly, it was 1995 French Open. We were playing at the National in Paris. Mm. It's actually, I think for those listeners might recall, a more recent Ryder Cup before it was played in Italy was there at the Paris National Course.
Right.
And this particular year, the event, I guess, was played sort of mid-year, maybe sort of May, June, maybe. I can't remember the date. But suffice to say that I shared the same side of the draw as Seve, and the short game area is behind the range. And this particular occasion, I was actually just, I guess, in the box seat, right up close to Seve for what you guys typically would call a Masterclass.
Right.
And there was no one else around. It was just he and I, actually. And I was curious enough to ask him what was he actually doing or what was he working on. And essentially he was just hitting these small pitch shots. But in his grasp of English, he was able to describe a lot of things that perhaps nowadays, with the use of TrackMan or at least ball flight technology, you can understand perhaps what was actually the magic that sat behind what he was doing. So his philosophy was that less spin is better. So in other words, not trying to overspin the ball. So that was all about the angle of attack, mm-hmm. how centeredness the hit was. In other words, he was working on grooves up from the bottom type stuff. His ball positioning was important, the shaft leaned forward, and obviously ensuring that he was controlling his height and carry. So he put a coin down like a metre or so across from the fringe, and in the space of 10 shots, he hit the coin like 5 times. So that might sound relatively straightforward, but I'm sure your listeners would agree that is an example, I guess, of magnificent ball control. And what I was, I guess, witnessing was a shot that lands softly, but then runs out. And that was his priority, what I was trying to do. So in other words, on that second bounce, it starts to go dead and then just works its way towards the hole with this sort of dead weight pace. And the greens were quick. The fringe that he was chipping from wasn't long rough, but it was enough for the ball to at least get a good hit on it. And the more he was describing things, the more it was like, well, here's a fascinating insight into what goes on in the hands, if you like, or the magic of someone of Seve. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
So the shot for me that comes to mind, exactly what Paul is describing there.
Pretty shaven.
Well, no, yeah, but that was out of the rough.
Yeah.
So remember the famous Seve shot over the wall in Switzerland.
Oh, yeah, and then he chipped in.
He chipped it in.
Yeah.
Now, that was the shot Paul was just talking about right there. Was
Yeah.
that little soft one lands and then runs. And it runs like a putt. And how shallow he came into the ball and spot on.
Severiano Ballesteros has reached the last hole. He's 16 under, and he's just one shot off the lead.
He was on one of his electric chargers. I think he'd birdied 3 or 4 holes in a row, coming up the 18th. One of the usual Seve moments. You always knew something was going to happen. Hits it miles right off the 18th tee. And if you've been to Crom, there's a swimming pool on to the right of the 18th hole, and it's surrounded by a concrete wall that is taller than me. So it's 6 to 8 feet high, and he's on his hands and knees, well, virtually crouching down in the, it's like where I'm sitting now, in the pine straw under these pine trees, and he's snorting away as he did. And Billy's behind him, crouched down as well, and he's pointing up into the tree. And I can see Billy's sort of face going, okay, boss, yeah, maybe. Then he's sort of thinking, well, you've still got a chance, you would chip it out, Seve. And he said, no, Billy, like this. And anyway, eventually Seve draws the club, and Billy just walks past me, head down, and said, no bleep chance. He's almost crouching down when he hits the shot. No noise. I was waiting for the ball to come pinging towards me off the concrete wall as a ricochet. Big roar, and he comes chundering out, and there's Billy on his knees going like this. That's the guy, and that was the excitement of Seve.
Ballesteros hit the wall of the swimming pool with his drive. He's now played a miracle recovery shot, and he's just short of the green.
And then he promptly chips it in from just short of the green for a birdie.
And the respect just pops the club under the ball.
Yes! Oh, well, we haven't seen Seve like that since, 1984 at St Andrews, I think. Did he enjoy that?
It's funny, Paul, listening to you. I mean, I know. I remember growing up, and you did too. We all grew up with the belated ball, and the fascination for so many kids was trying to make it spin. And here you got a guy at the top of his game, and it's completely the opposite the way he was thinking.
Yeah. It was. He was in his way of describing it was, I don't want to spin it too much, and he was using his own balls. He wasn't using the range balls, so he was actually working in the right environment under the right conditions. And of course, the variations to all of this, as we know, is dependent on the shot. So the way I try and describe this, if I was coaching someone, would be quite simply that you try and get someone to a phase of what's called unconscious competence. They're not thinking about it, they're just doing it. And great players will be very quick to assess that everything, that's all the variables that go into it, whether it's the lie, the carry, the spin rates, the angle of attack ball, but all of those sorts of things, and they're summed up quite quickly. And Seve was doing that. He was in that groove. He was able to talk about it, but at the same time too, he was demonstrating it to a level that was just just magic to watch.
Yeah, well, the good news was you're there by yourself with him, number one. Yeah. So you're getting, it's like, watching Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel by yourself as he's doing it. There's number one. But the other thing is I'm impressed that he actually expressed it to you quite well, because with Seve, sometimes you ask him something, he goes, well, just put the ball here, I chip and it'd go in, So it's very simple to him.
It was a bit of that.
Yeah.
It was a bit of that.
All right, so Paul,
probing a little bit more. It was more about the spin piece for him. Yeah.
The other one is Gabriel Hjertstedt. Now, it was so long ago when Gabriel was playing in Australia, like early 1990s. I keep on telling people,
maybe the greatest overachiever in golf, right?
I keep on telling people that the two most amazing things I've ever seen in this game is Michelle Wee missing a a US tour cut in Hawaii by one shot when she was a 14-year-old schoolgirl, playing off the same tees. The other one is Gabriel Hjertstedt winning twice on the US tour. Now, they are the two most amazing things I've ever seen, and it's kind of a backhanded compliment, but it's a big compliment to Gabriel because of the fight that he had inside him, but two, his short game was crazy elite. Now, I imagine it's something along these lines too, Paul, that you've got to tell us.
Well, it's actually not. But what I might just add to that is he was the first Swede to win on the US tour.
Oh, there you
go.
So,
wow.
Alongside all the really good Swedish players that played before him, whether it's Ulrik Johansson or Jesper Parnevik or Anders Forsbrand, all these guys, they actually never got to win, and he was the first one when he won that BC Open.
Gosh.
And then he obviously followed it up with the Tucson Open. But you're right, Mark. He came in because he was Swedish born, moved to Australia when he was about 11, I believe, and obviously grew up in Queensland and had the thick Aussie accent. And he was a master of languages in the sense that he could walk onto the range on the European tour and almost like have an ear for whatever conversation was going on. So this story is more broadly speaking around how difficult it is to travel on tour and be fully prepared. And what sort of piqued my interest a little bit earlier about this was that I saw a recent report, if you remember if you know of that Whoop bracelet that records data and those sorts of things. I think Rory wears one. There was a study done of over a couple of thousand golfers over a couple of years, and it was more about sleep data, but I'll come back to that point later. Anyway, so this particular event we were playing was an early season event in 1994, and it was the Madeira Island Open.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
played there.
if you can pull out your atlas and understand where Madeira Island is, it's a Portuguese island in the Atlantic, off the west coast of essentially continental Europe.
How'd you get there?
Hard place to get to.
I remember our first trip over. Sorry to cut you there, Paul, but we went Perth,
that's right.
Singapore, London, Lisbon, Madeira. I think it was about a 36-hour trip. It was horrific.
Good luck.
That's right. Yeah.
Keep going.
So this particular occasion, what I might just also add is that your listeners, if they want to, after this interview, look up the top 10 most dangerous airports in the world.
Shortest runway in the world at
this
the time.
particular airport called Funchal, it's built on stilts out over the water. So think of Thunderbirds or something like that, right? Yep. So anyway, we play the event, and essentially it was fog shortened, so we got 54 holes in, and we couldn't play on the Sunday due to the fog.
Yeah.
It's called clouds up there because the golf course is right at the top of the hill there.
That's right.
It's clouds.
At the top of the hill. That's right. And then what's actually happening down at sea level could be a very different thing. So it's like a volcanic-shaped island. Anyway, so by the time we're due to go, up comes the wind. And again, I'm going to sound like I'm a bit of a flight captain here with some of the things I'm describing about aeroplanes, but there's a scale called the Beaufort scale that talks about force 1 through 12 of winds. So this was a force 10 of 12. So 80 to 100 Ks an hour, 50, 60 knots, and it didn't stop for 3 days. So we couldn't actually get off the island. So the travel groups were seriously looking at booking boats because the next event was in Morocco. So if you know where Morocco is, it's the northwest tip of the African continent, and we're essentially going hop skipping around our way to get to the Moroccan Open. Now, this was a non-Ryder Cup year, and come Tuesday morning, the European Tour officials said if anyone wants to go home, you won't be penalised for withdrawing.
Right.
And so about 40 Pommy guys decided to pull out, and gave chances to what was then the Challenge Tour guys to get a start in the Moroccan Open. But that's not the end of the story. So Gabe and Gabe's playing in this event, by the way, and we'd gone through the tour school at a similar time, and essentially trying to play every event that we could, particularly early season ones. And as we're again checking every 3 hours or something from the tiny little hotel, looking out the window, watching a hurricane happen, the news is just getting bleaker and bleaker. And again, we've all had some horror stories on travel. So we all get the message down to the airport we're going. And it sounds like we're going to get small aircraft, i.e. 10-seaters, because they don't need as much runway. and we're going to fly off the island.
Right.
And long story short, Gabe and we've drawn the short straw. We're on the last flight. So there were 5 planes that took off. And I say stupid, but the pilots hadn't factored in the golf luggage.
Oh, no.
The weight.
Oh, no.
So fuel and weight and, what's going to go on is all a factor of the airplane weight, but all the bags started to get thrown on, and they were literally down the aisle, shoulder height, in the last flight. And I'm looking across at Gabe, and he and I have got that seriously worried look. I kid you not. It's like you're laughing nervously, like, bless your heart, we're going down. We're not surviving this. So the plane's taking off, it's max speed, it's trying to get to the end of the runway, and it drops. It goes over the side and down. And we're looking at the ocean, and this guy managed to bank it back and into the air, and you've never heard a roar like it. And we finally got to another island where it was a place called Santa Ponza. The King of Morocco sent his 747, and the whole lot of us then managed to fly to Agadir from there.
Unbelievable.
And by the time we got into Morocco, it was probably 3 or 4 a.m. on a Wednesday. And suffice to say that we weren't in a great state to actually even. We managed to walk 9 holes. And the reason I raised that earlier point about sleep studies is that having not had any sleep for like 3 days, it was no fit state to play. And I just never forget the look on Gabe's face as he and I looked at each other and said, "This is it. Our life is about to end."
Wow,
Paul, mate, it's so good to hear these stories. I'd never let it be said. Look, one of the great things you need to have as a professional golfer when you come from Australia is a sense of adventure. I mean, you've got to get out of here, and you got to get overseas, and you got to go through all this sort of stuff. And then try and, shoot 68 the next day.
Well, Paul talks about Madeira Island, that airport. We never knew it was basically at the time the shortest runway in the world.
You didn't know?
Did not know, because we were flying straight there from Perth for our first event. Anyway, as we're coming into land, it all of a sudden it's a very windy place, as Paul knows, obviously. And I'm like, whatever, just put us down on the ground because, it's been 36 hours of travel. Plane lands and the whole plane starts clapping.
Yeah.
You go, why are they clapping? And the person next to me says, well, they landed first time. It usually takes 3 goes. Because if they don't land within a certain spot on the runway, they've got to go off again because you're going to go over the other side.
God.
And if you're short, you go straight into a cliff. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's apparently they've lengthened it since, Paul. So you might want to go back again. So.
Hey, Paul, I've never told you this, but I need to thank you for something. And that is years ago, I was on the list to getting into the US tour school, but Paul was in front of me, and Paul had entered into the European and the US. But my manager, who was with Advantage, because there was no computers back then, he actually called me and said, "Hey, Marco, pack your bags to America." Paul Moloney got his European tour card, and he's pulled out of the States. So
beautiful.
That's right.
It's only 32 years late, but thank you for that, Paul. I really appreciate it.
I didn't actually know that you got that spot, but I didn't see any sense in trying to get a US tour card in the rookie year.
No.
Well, interestingly, so you went to Q school.
I went to Q school.
You missed.
I missed and got the I think it was called the Hogan Tour back then, or the Nike Tour.
I was going to say, it might have cost you a lot of money because he missed.
Good on you, Paul. Nice to see your face. We appreciate you.
If you might remember that old mate of ours, Glenn Joyner, he used to say, I'm going to write a book. Do you remember what he used to call it?
No. What was it?
So you want to be a golf pro, huh?
Yeah.
That was going to be the title of the book.
Very good.
So, that's a very good idea.
I've just explained, given an example of some of the awkward sides of trying to travel. And anyone that's travelled would understand that. But trying to then peak perform when you get out of the plane is not an easy thing.
No.
Good on you, Paul. Nice to see you. Thanks for the stories. We really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Good on you. There is the 1993 Singapore Open champ. Hairy stuff.
So good.
Yeah, everyone's got these crazy. It's a good title for a book.
Really is. The Madeira Island Open. I remember we're hitting a shot into one of the greens, and we had to stop because a cloud came over the green. There was a cloud that moved on, and you couldn't see the green anymore. And then you just sat there and waited 5 minutes
for the cloud to blow past.
Cloud would go through. Unbelievable place.
Ridiculous.
They say you only go to Madeira once. there's a reason mostly because of the airport. It's a nightmare to get to as well.
Good on you, Nicholas. Thanks again to Paul Moloney. Folks, we'll catch you next time.
Talk Birdie to Me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. Live from Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. FootJoy, the #1 shoe and glove in golf. The Golf Clearance Outlet, they beat everyone's prices. BMW, luxury and comfort for the 19th hole. Better, ahead of the game. Ping will help you play your best. And Host Plus, they can help you drive your retirement further. Now that's a plus. Issued by Host Plus Pty Limited. This is general advice. Consider the PDS and TMD on our website before deciding. Wherever you listen or watch, we'd love you to subscribe and share the pod with a friend. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design by Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com. And now from Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, that's been Talk Birdie to Me.